friends, welcome to the very first video of September. Tomorrow is a digital download day, if I've got my schedule correct, but I will probably upload the downloads today when this video goes up, because you might want to have a play with them after this, or you might want to play during this, or you might want to play before this and skip the whole video altogether. I do want to just go through a few of them and then play in this journal that I have here. This journal was actually gifted to me from Victory, and it was from when we went to the in-person workshops, and Victory actually handmade this journal, and it's full of a bunch of different surfaces that are super gorgeous. And look at the binding on this thing. Like, all those signatures, this is everything. All the colors, all the weaving. I don't have the patience to learn anything like that, but I admire the beauty of it and the work that went into it. So thank you again, Victory. This is something that I'm super excited. I promised her that I would work in it. I never said on camera, but since we've got a bunch of stuff today that is super random to me, I thought it might be fun just to pick random papers and kind of feel the flow, kind of just get the inspiration going as we flip through the book. But I will just go through what's on the sheets. We've got 3 this month. 2 are full of illustrations and random bits and pieces, and one of them is a 3x4 kind of journal print sheet. So I've never really created those before. I don't know honestly why I did. I just thought, I'd been watching a lot of YouTube and kind of getting into this project life that a lot of people have videos about, and I'm not going to get into it at all, but I thought it was an interesting idea that people collect these 3x4 cards. So I did make a full sheet of those. You might also notice that I've got a variety of different papers going on here, and also different print qualities. I have had a fantastic morning dealing with the printer and all of its problems and the emotional journey that it decided to go on today. So I do have a random bunch of prints, and honestly, I don't know if I've got any. I do have, actually. I have some of them that I'm really happy with the quality, but some of them I'm not. I just want to use them anyway because I think it's a waste to throw them out, and I think you can salvage prints that aren't that great, you know what I mean? Like, I might just want to use a part of something. But I also printed on a different surface. So this is actually matte photo sticker paper. This is just regular copy paper, and the print setting was on standard. I mean, look at the difference of color between these two papers. It's really, really important for you to experiment with your own printer, because I could recommend anything to you until the cows come home, but until you put it through your printer, you're not going to know and how it's all going to go until it actually comes out. So I do recommend glossy photo papers, or this, especially the glossy photo sticker paper, for anything you want to be a bit more vibrant and a bit more true to color. This you can see here, this is the difference between a glossy photo sticker paper and just a regular copy paper. The only problem with the photo sticker paper is that you can't work on top of it very easily. You have to use paint pens or markers that can work on top of the gloss surface. A lot of ink won't settle on this properly. A pencil, you're kind of, I mean, you're not really going to have a great time with pencils on top of this. Crayons possibly, but not really. This is harder to work with in mixed media, but it's a great quality to print if you're just going to put these in your planner, if you're just going to put some of these as prints in your journal, whatever you might want to do with these. If you don't really want to alter anything about them, photo sticker paper. I say sticker paper just because I like that it's already adhesive. I don't have to glue anything, but you could just print it on regular photo paper as well. I will say the sticker paper is actually thinner than regular photo paper, so it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your journals. So that's also a good reason to print on the sticker paper, or a label paper, I think most people would know it as, just in case you don't want to bulk up your book. You can see that this is where the printer decided to give up for a hot minute. I had to... There was a lot of troubleshooting going on today. This isn't the first time I've had this problem either, so I think it might be time for a new printer, and I'm not surprised because I put that one through a beating. Anyway, did I even explain any of this? No, not at all. Now they're all out of order and I have no idea what I'm doing, but you've seen the different qualities, so I would just recommend to you that play around with your printer settings, play around with boosting the vibrancy, play around with the papers that you're using. Don't just always use matte, try some gloss if you can. Try printing on transparent papers. Whatever you can feed through the printer, I would honestly try printing on it. This is a matte photo sticker paper, so don't need any glue for these, and I can actually work on top of it. I probably should have lightened it. You know, if I did go back in and my printer was behaving, I would have lightened the color as I printed it out, so I would have got a better match for this. But I am truly fascinated by how, I mean, it's the same printer and it was the same settings, it just gave me two different colors, completely different colors. You'll notice that in your journals sometimes the sizing in the papers is sometimes really different, and the mixtures, and if you're working from a watercolor paper just to a regular copy paper, or even if you're in that Copic sketchbook, the render no show through sketchbook, inks will behave differently on different types of papers. So it just stands to reason that because a printer is printing with ink and you're putting different types of papers in there, you will get different results. So that's just my disclaimer on that. And I guess what I wanted to start with, just so you knew that I was having printer issues and we're going to just deal with it today. Great way to start September, right? But we are just playing, and I'm planning on altering some of this, or who knows, I'm not planning on doing anything, to be honest. I'm just gonna have a play. Here you'll notice some examples we've been playing with in the hair tutorial, and I'm so incredibly impressed and proud of everyone that's been trying those hairstyles, and even getting to the bangs and stopping there and doing other creative things with it. I see a tremendous amount of growth in such a short period of time, so that is really rewarding for me to watch, and thank you for getting on board with that, because I know it was rather long and could be very tedious if you didn't set out to learn anything that day. We've got this loop pattern tutorial bird. Honestly, I just see random people saying things about this sometimes, and the comments come back sometimes, and I just thought it's time for me to get over it and put the bird in there. It's too funny for words. I hate looking at it, but just because it kind of brings me a good feeling when I hear people talking about it, because it's just something I really don't like, but I'm glad that other people kind of like it for some weird reason. So I put that in there. This is a random piece of ephemera I've had in my little D-stash box for months and months and months and months. Never used it, still in my box. So I thought if I could get inspired from other people using it, maybe I'd be happy to use that. This was from my sketch planner. I was playing with the little stamps and just half stamping them on the days of the week, so it kind of looked like people popping up and having a look at my schedule that I have not been adhering to lately, so smack on the wrist for me. This was from the hair tutorial actually as well, but this is from my off-camera journal, a spread that I did in there, and this is actually a tab that kind of folds up and down. When I scanned it, obviously scanned quite flat, but this is the top part of the image, and underneath it there's a little weird little creature thing that pops out when you pull the tab up. So, but I actually liked the whole look of it together. So she's, giving me Bionic Bunny vibes, but I'm into that. This was also from the loop pattern tutorial, so these are, I think, from the same page. I really like the page. I did show you that flip through in the end of last month's video. I kind of got inspired to get into that and pull some of those elements out. This is another print of that. You can see I even got the registration wrong. I didn't size it to fit my paper, and I didn't press scale to fit. It was just a mess. I had such a nightmare doing it. This is from my off-camera journal, the I'm free to be myself. I just love it. It's so simple. I'm sorry that it's going to waste some of your black ink, but if you like that, you can have a copy of that in your journal or planner. You could also just select some of these from the PDF and try and bring them into a new one if you don't want to print all of them at once. I'm going to let you figure out what you're capable of achieving on Photoshop, because it is a process, so if not, you'll have just a page of prints and hopefully you'll find a use for them. This is a piece that I didn't film. This was what I did one random night when I was just kind of inspired to play for myself, and this is me holding Oliver. The foam stamp tutorial, just a page from my off-camera journal there. Of course, you saw this was the page renovations, the right-hand side of the page where we started with that horrendous, you can still kind of see it, the image that I absolutely hated underneath it, and then ended up with something really fantastic that I was just kind of taken with. So I did put a copy of that in there since you got to see that come to life. This is from the Finding Inspiration in the Disney Coffee Table Books video. We saw that come to life as well, and you got to watch this happen on tracing paper play. So there is a mix of stuff that I have just done off camera that hasn't been for YouTube, hasn't been for anything, Instagram, anything. It was just a part of my own play, and then the rest I did kind of want to give something that was a bit more personal to the Patreon experience. So since we did go through these on the experience, this is kind of the only thing that was random. That tutorial was on YouTube, but this was from my off-camera journal. Like, no one saw me make that. So this is, half very personal to me and then half very personal to us. So that's kind of where I was going in selecting, because how do you really select 6 pages from a journal to share? It kind of becomes a little Australian Idol top 12. In any case, I don't think I'm going to use much of this going into my playtime today. Maybe a face or two, who knows. Those I just kind of wanted to put in my sketch planner. And this is the last one here. We're back on the matte photo sticker paper. This is the photo sticker paper that's gloss, and this is the regular copy paper. So if I just kind of put them side by side there, I mean, just look at the difference that you get between those printing. I know I don't want to rave on about it too much, but really, I mean, sometimes I think we're quick to give up on our printer because it just didn't do what we wanted it to do. Sometimes we also have to give it a bit of encouragement and play with the settings a little bit. But on this page, this is from my off-camera journal as well. This is a swatch doll. If you look closely, you can clone me because my fingerprint is in there. I always think it's a really nice touch just to have a fingerprint randomly in the page. This was a big page on the black. This was using that, we were doing the page renovations in that as well. I think that was the page where most people got upset because I covered that mermaid so quickly. But I've put her in there just to remind you that I am still happy that I covered it. More illustrations from the Disney coffee table inspiration book. I just really loved these ones. These ones stood out the most to me. This one just because it's so random and I don't do anything like that. So I thought I'm just gonna put it in there. I don't know how I would use that, but I don't know. Maybe it'll become a headpiece or something. This is from a random journal from ages ago, but this was the inspiration for the image that people used to create the entries for the Sketch Planner giveaway. Now, I have heard and seen on Instagram that Sketch Planner is coming back out again for 2019. I'm just gonna tell you all here, I messaged Sketch Planner, I tried to get in their DMs and get some inside scoop. Not for any other reason than when I filmed my Sketch Planner video on YouTube, I wanted to give accurate information of how people could get them and what was gonna happen, but they did not get back to me and it's been over a week now, so I just don't know what to do about that. Part of me wants to make the video and just let everyone else find the info, but then the other part of me wants to do it properly and make sure that I have the info before I make that video and then have to backtrack and say I said the wrong thing. So I'm not really quite sure what to do there. We'll just see how it goes. I'm probably going to make the video anyway and just give updates when I find out some more information because I love my Sketch Planner and honestly I am wanting to do it again next year. This is the just the actual image without the background. This is what's on my Whimsyween mood board. If you saw me put the mood board together, this is actually how it looks on my mood board. I took both those pieces of paper down and put it into the scanner, but this is the image without the background because I know not everyone wants to use the background in there. This is a little personal sketch that I did of Wednesday Addams a long time ago. We are getting into Whimsyween and I am way too excited for it. So I also put a Whimsyween image down here. This is my Square Dilutions journal, so it's very panoramic. These are the, I wanted to call them ghastly gourds, but then I started reading up what ghouls were and what gourds were, and then I thought, well, they're not really gourds, they're pumpkins, but they could look like gourds, and I got way too into semantics, and I just decided not to call it anything, so I just wrote Whimsyween across there, and I thought if you wanted to get involved, if you are excited for it, if you're even doing a mood board and you want to get along with the pastel fantasy that we got going, there is an image for you to use there. And I'm probably just going to put that straight into my Sketch Planner. But today I don't really want to get into the Sketch Planner stuff, so I might, you know, give some of these pieces a miss, but I would love to see what you get up to with them. I'm probably just going to work in this journal and see how far I get. I've got a couple of hours scheduled out just to play. We're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to get our mixed media going on, and I think it's important to show you that I do use this stuff because sometimes there's a temptation for me to make it and then just put it out there and say, there you go, have a go with it. I mean, I know I created it in the first place, but I love to reuse, I love to recycle, I love to refresh all of these old pieces, and I think that's also an interesting thing to watch happen. So I did want to make sure that you got a good look at the process of taking some of this stuff into a new place, and hopefully you get inspired to do some of that as well, because ultimately that's where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, I can see all of this and I can say, oh, I've done it, I don't need to do that again. Oh, look at my hands. I ate not red Cheetos, Flaming Hot Cheetos. I just noticed my hands are all orange. I cleaned them really good too. That's super staining. I wonder what pigments are in Flaming Hot Cheetos. But anyway, this is where you're at, right? So you get the images. You've never really played with them before, so you're not really recycling anything. This is your starting point. So that's how I approach when I start creating with them. I pretend like this is my starting point. What would I do with this? Not knowing where it came from, not knowing where it needs to go, but just looking at it with fresh eyes and saying, oh, okay, well, I have a chance to do something with this. What would I do with it? And that's where I'm going to start, and that's where I'm going to end up today. So just enjoy the process, and I will have your downloads up today. I'm going to do it today. I'll do it the same day as the video. Okay, enjoy! Like I said earlier in the video, I'm using a handmade journal today. This is from Victory Nichols, and it is such a divine journal. I don't want to call it a junk journal, even though I think that's what most people reference these as, the journals with an eclectic mix of papers in there. I do have one from Yellow Paper House that is divine as well, but it's rings, and this one is stitched. These are individual, what are they called? Signatures that have all been stitched together with that beautiful weaving. I mean, honestly, it's like a tapestry on the spine of that book. And what do we do with things that are divine? We tend to put them away and not use them until we're ready to be perfect. So I'm trying to practice what I preach and really just get this out and create with this reckless abandon. I promised Victory that I would use it, and it's almost been a month now, so time to crack on, I reckon. The thing I love about these books is they kind of challenge you to use different media depending on the papers that you're using. So I am going in with Posca paint markers here. They're an acrylic, they're a water-based acrylic marker. I have the brush tip, which I've had a white one for a long time and I loved it so much that I ordered a whole set that arrived yesterday. And I do have the regular ones. I have them in a bunch of different sizes as well. Honestly, I couldn't tell you which ones are the best. It really just depends on how big you like to cover an area with your paint marker, but they do dry down matte, and the best thing about having a matte acrylic is that you can work over the top of it with your other mediums. So the paper I'm working on with this illustration and kind of color blocking in this bird and, you know, playing with the leaf shapes, this has a sheen to it. It has a gloss to it. It's not necessarily a glossy paper, but the finish on it has a luster, or I would just say a sheen, a glossy sheen. Which means that not all your mediums are going to sit on top of it nicely. I can't tell you which ones will work and which ones definitely won't work because, you know, the sheen on this might be different to the finish on the glossy paper that you're working on. It is always a bit of a hit and miss, and that experimentation process is kind of necessary for each person to do when you're approaching, you know, new substrates. So I'll just kind of let you go with it, but essentially, you know, a paint marker will pretty much work on anything. So if you need a matte surface to work on with your other mediums, I would just encourage you to go nuts with a paint marker. You saw that I abandoned that page earlier because I had truly gotten to a place where I thought, you know, if I finish this, it's going to take me hours and I want to move on to something else. And I thought I'm not going to restrict myself to creating every page, you know, a finished art journal page today. I'm using the collage sheets for things that, you know, are interesting ideas, and I don't necessarily have to make full journal pages, but let's just see where I go. So I loved color blocking in that bird on the other page, but I didn't love where the whole thing was going. So when I found this bird on this page, I thought I could put a head on that. I've got some heads, I've got some faces on this page. I'll just stick one of the heads on there and see where we go from that. So I started color blocking it again with the Posca paint markers, which gave me that new surface to work on with my Sharpie brush pens. If I had to give you the quickest disclaimer on the Sharpie brush pens, the packaging has this misprint, kind of like screen printing logo on the front that makes me really annoyed because they weren't super cheap, they also weren't super expensive, but I just feel like they're Sharpie's afterthought. I think they were just made to fill a spot in the market for them. I don't necessarily think everyone needs them. I don't really know much about the ink in them, if they're the same Sharpie ink, which I believe has xylene in it, which isn't a best friend to some art supplies. So I don't know. I think if you need a really durable, you know, fine brush pen, it's not even fine, it's still super flexible too. It'd be great for brush letterers if you're just looking to add some new ones to your collection, but I don't think you're missing any of these, and I do think it's just a bit of a Sharpie novelty. So there's just my quick disclaimer on the Sharpie pens. I'm probably also speaking from bias because I'm not a letterer, so I don't see a big need for me to have these. But they're cute to use, so I just found them in Target. I think they're about $20. Not quite sure. Hashtag not sponsored. So I'm back in with the paint marker. I'm just kind of putting details on there to kind of pull the hair detail into the rest of this bird, and I love how this turned out. I don't think it's very me, and I can see me in it, but I don't think it's very reflective of even, you know, the things that I like to look at, but I'm super taken with this look. I think it's such an interesting idea, and I think anyone could do this. If you have some paint markers and an illustration, block the color in and then just add a head to it, see where you can take it. I really enjoyed that process, even if I don't love the way things turn out. So that's a great way to approach your creativity if you're not looking to finish something or make something specific. In these moments of play, kind of sit there and think about what you're playing with. You know, Are you sick of playing on the page that you're playing on? If so, move to the next one. There's always another page. I mean, unless you've finished your journal, in which case I'm sure you have another journal. Let's be real. But I want to encourage you to remember that you're playing when you're playing, because I'm totally guilty of this as well. I will labor over something because I think, oh no, I could save this, or what if I just did this, and I don't want my first page that I play with to be a failure because then I won't want to move on. You know what? Let that go. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it kind of matters to me sometimes because I think, well, it's being filmed. Everyone can see that I'm not doing well. But I know that if I keep going, I'm going to get somewhere that I really wanted to be. And I think the first 2 pages were a classic example of that. You know, I was enjoying the play that I was having, but I just didn't want to finish the page I was on. I didn't like it anymore. I wanted to try it again. And then I tried it again on the next page, had success with it. It was exactly kind of what I envisioned that process to look like, and how I would enjoy something turning out, even if it wasn't necessarily what I pictured. So I would consider that a successful play. The last page I did, I was being very literal with it. Sometimes I do get caught up in being very literal. So I saw a Cruella de Vil. I saw a little children's book story about a lost dog. I thought it'd be funny if Cruella was looking for that lost dog for obvious Cruella de Vil reasons. P.S. Does anyone else love the live action Cruella de Vil with Glenn Close? I'm kind of obsessed with it, so I do love the original 101 Dalmatians as well. Did I say Cruella de Vil movie? I meant 101 Dalmatians, but, you know, same. This is one of the grey toned papers. I love a good toned paper because you finally get to use all of the pastel colours that you have. White just pops on a toned paper, so we get to go nuts with, you know, your white gel pens. This is the white Posca brush pen. This is the first one I got, and I think there is another white one in the packet that I got as well, so really happy to have another one of these. I know they're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm just really enjoying them, so I don't want to recommend them to you if you're not big into brushes. It's kind of like a ready-to-go paintbrush. Do you know what I mean? You know how we have water brushes for watercolor, and even then you have to load the pigment on. This is just in there. It's a paint marker with a different tip, obviously. I mean, I shouldn't say obviously. Maybe some people don't know that, but it's a convenience marker, definitely. You could just do this with a paintbrush, but at the same time, there's something a bit more comforting to me about holding a pen or the barrel of a pen or a paint marker than there is about holding a paintbrush. They usually make them so tiny, and I've got like these, I mean, my hands, I don't think the dexterity I have is perfect for paintbrushes. I get there, and I'm less afraid of them than I was before, but it's just more comfortable for me with a marker. I've been illustrating longer than I have been painting, so I think that does make sense to me. I do love this page. I think it turned out so effective in what I didn't even set out to achieve, and I think most of it has to do with the contrast of that white on the toned paper. I just kind of loved where this went. It was so abstract. I don't even know what it's supposed to be, but it's giving me full fantasy in every way. So wig location unknown for this page. I just love it. Don't know what it's supposed to be though. But do you really need to know? I mean, maybe I'll come back to that one day and it'll be the perfect little, illustration that was supposed to accompany, a page in a book or something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'll try and reuse that image in some way, because any image that I get taken with, even if it's one that's been reused, I mean, you have to remember that picture was actually just from the hair tutorial, and I have it in a collage sheet, so it will probably turn up a few more times, but sometimes, the first image I create isn't necessarily the one that I fall in love with the most. Sometimes the reinterpretation of that image is one that I love more. And so that process of reusing and recycling and refreshing your art is something that I'm really, really all about. And it's why my printer is having issues, because I've photocopied way too many things at this point. But it's a super fun thing to play with, especially if you're someone that needs to build a bit of confidence with your work. I'm sure there is stuff that you've done already that you have enjoyed. That's the stuff I'd encourage you to go and get out and reinterpret in these ways. You might not even like the way that you reinterpret it, you might have preferred the original, but just have a go at it. Give yourself a starting point that you did already, so you can feel confident knowing that it's your original art that you love already, and just find different, endings for it. Endings? It's not the word I wanted. What's the word I wanted? Find different alternatives? Find different looks, It's a Luke. I honestly don't know the word I'm searching for, but find different interpretations, I guess. I just think it's a really, really great way to build confidence in your own artwork as well. And just please watch this process. Watch how I go in and just know that I'm not happy with everything I do. Sometimes I cover stuff up. Sometimes I just pretend like it was never there. Sometimes I just leave it. And I'll come back and renovate that page another time years later in the next playtest Patreon experience. Do you know what I mean? There's no real rules that you have to follow, so why not do what's going to build your confidence? Why not do what's going to make you feel better or feel happier about it? And even in that struggle to do that, just know that everyone else struggles the same way. Because sometimes I sit there and I think, James, you are such a fraud. You told everyone, don't labor over this thing. And if something's not making you happy, like, move on from it. But then I'll sit there and I'll labor over it and I'll make sure that it makes me happy. But I'm always on that. I'm on that journey with you. I have to say it out loud so that I can hear it back. And I have to say it because I know that's what I should be doing, even if I don't end up doing it. But for sessions like this, I think this is a great exercise. The play, the experimentation, using your different mediums, trying different things, experimenting with style and aesthetic. This is the stuff that will really, really encourage your confidence, and you will move forward from this point to create pieces that are, that reveal how confident you're becoming. And I think that is probably the place that most people want to be at, because it's fun to be confident in it. It's rewarding. It's super liberating. So, and I want everyone to be there. And, when I'm not feeling it, I can look at you and you can re-inspire me to do it. So I'm going to leave you with that. I will get those downloads uploaded right now and schedule it all for Monday. Until next time, bye.